Welcome back to another Hobgoblin Industries podcast video. Today we have,
Hi, I'm Elias Peterzel. I'm an artist.
and so the first question we have is favorite art that you have made.
That I have made. Oh, that's tricky. Um, right now it's probably my most recent print, which is done in intaglio, in the dry point style. So I etch the design onto a plexiglass plate, slide the ink all over it, get off what I can, rub it with a stiff cloth called a tarlatan to buff out any excess ink, and then I send it through a good 500 pounds of pressure to press it onto the paper.
Second question being, what do you think of AI art?
So I am not completely against AI art. I actually see where it could be incredibly useful for a lot of things. I myself have used it mostly in, meme context and humor contexts, but I've also used it as inspiration, which I think is a very valid way of using it to inspire art, pull ideas from. However, I do think that we need to pretty drastically change not only the societal view of AI art as now I can do art easily because it's not technically creating art yourself. And I think we need restrictions legally on how it can be used and if it can even be sold, which I am not for the selling of AI art. I do not believe that is genuine.
I mostly use AI art just as for fun to see what kinds of things it will come up with different prompts, and as a quick video, as you guys may have seen with the whole AI art playlist I have. And I also have voiced my opinions as it should be used to enhance another human. It should not be used solo ever, just to extract ideas or to get a base idea of something else and merge, or some sort of human element should be put into the AI.
I completely agree with that. Like, I've seen a lot of people creating, especially in the fairy core genre, tea sets or clothing, and I think if you were to take those images and use them as a basis for an actual item, that would be completely okay. Or like what my friends and I do, which is we put together a piece of AI art, and then we take that and we essentially sort of telephone it through our styles, as a way to create together.
That's a very good way of using it. And then, favorite piece of famous art?
Oh man, I can't quite remember the name of it, but Ivan Earl, my absolute most favorite artist. You may know him most likely as the lead art design on Disney's Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty. And he did this one incredible piece. We used to have an enormous print of it, taller than I am now, of a waterfall going through these cliffs and all of these incredible trees. And I can send it to you later if need be. But that one has always stuck with me as my favorite piece.
For me, I'd have to say Rob Liefeld. I'm kidding, not Rob Liefeld.
Maybe
no,
one knows how to draw a foot.
Yeah, God, and I've made fun of it plenty of times, especially when I'm playing Deadpool. My favorite would honestly have to be, I don't know who does a lot of them, but a lot of Punisher and Doctor Strange comic book art, because Punisher has a lot of symbolism and paint and blood using dripping style, and I always find that interesting. And Doctor Strange with its big and grand scope. Like, I have a miniature volumes issue where Doctor Strange is fighting a giant green chicken, and so that's pretty nifty. I mean, wizards fighting giant chickens is always fun.
Yeah, I think comic book art, the scope of it is incredible. The individual stylings, really allowing artists to go with their own thing while still connecting to a greater universe is always really cool.
The only problem I ever have with it is if it's in one storyline and it changes artists every single storyline. That kind of bugs me whenever there's no consistency. But if there's at least some consistency, or it's a spin-off issue, that makes some sense because it's telling their own character story, so their viewpoint could, you could say, it looks different, so the art's different. And on that note, favorite video game?
Oh man, that's tough. I've got quite a few of them. Borderlands 2 was probably one of my early favorites after getting my PlayStation. Right now, it is the Horizon series, Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West. You are just the tiniest little meat person in a big angry metal world, and it lets you know.
Whenever it comes to art, since we're talking about art, I'm gonna have to say Katamari. The absolute style of Katamari is awesome.
Yeah, it's sort of semi-minimalist in a way, where each individual thing is done very simply, but altogether it's so complex, and I've always really liked that.
Favorite video, if you have seen any of them?
I would say, like, if we're talking in terms of animation, absolutely, without a doubt, the Dolly Disney collaboration. Salvador Dali did a collaboration with Walt Disney, and it is the most incredible piece of surrealist animation you've ever seen.
When I was saying that, I was more specifically talking about on the channel. I wasn't quite sure whether.
I haven't.
Okay,
I haven't checked
yeah.
it out yet, but I will.
Yeah, and then let's see here. Any upcoming big art projects?
Oh man, yeah, I'm in school right now, so there's always upcoming projects. So one of the big ones I'm doing right now is I'm in a class called 3D Design, and we are doing a shapes project right now with a minimum height requirement. And I have decided, against all of my better judgment, to make it out of chocolate. So I am currently working with chocolatiering and creating shapes out of that. And I'm desperately hoping that the spirit of Amari Guichon will possess me, so I don't have to actually do it.
Yeah, that sounds really difficult. Any types of videos that you would find interesting to see on the channel?
So I'm always into, like, deep dives and icebergs. I've always, I put them on, I listen while I work, and I've seen some really cool ones, especially, like, with creepypastas, or even within, like, deep dive of Pokemon, stuff like that.
I think the closest we have to that right now, and I try to avoid icebergs just because it shows up so much
It's definitely pretty saturated.
Recommendations and all that, is the Conspiracy Saga, Conspiracy Nutshell saga of videos that we have. I've wanted to do another one for a while, but the person I do them with is very hard to get a hold of and actually be able to sit down and do it, especially get in the right atmosphere. I just happened to be camping when we recorded the videos, so the atmosphere was perfect. Yeah. Greatest challenge you've had with the artistry?
So my biggest challenge has been overcoming my chronic illness. I struggle pretty severely with chronic fatigue because of actually several chronic illnesses. And one thing that happens is I will actually get cataplexy almost daily, which is a sudden and severe loss of muscle strength. I won't be able to do anything. Maybe I can pick stuff up with my arms, but I can't use my hands. And so working through my health issues has been one of the biggest things. There was a point where I could really only do one piece a year because of how incredibly difficult it was to just do that one piece.
That would definitely be tough with, not being able to pick up a pencil. And then, what is your favorite part about being an artist?
That one's actually a little tough for me. It's kind of just always been what I am. It's a very inherent part of my being. And so it kind of just is a part of me. It is fun. I do very much enjoy doing it, but it's more that I cannot possibly see myself doing anything else realistically for any period of time.
That would make sense, yeah. The final question is, what do you think of nostalgia baiting?
I was born in the late 90s and had to grow up too fast. I can see why it would be an issue. Certainly there's a lot of stuff where it's like, hey, we crossed over these two 90s fandoms, and it's usually like just for the sake of crossing over fandoms and getting that attention. But I also, I like nostalgic stuff. A lot of my work is, pretty nostalgic. I've got a Kirby print, I've got a Mario print. I'm planning on doing a print of Ridley pretty soon here from Metroid. So I'm all for it, but I want to see people making stuff that means something to them. Like, not just because they feel like it would fit in well in a fandom.
Disney has to be the worst I've seen with nostalgia baiting, especially lately. I heard, I don't know how, because this is all the way in July, this is uploaded. I don't know if we've gotten any trailers or anything, but I heard a live-action Moana remake is already coming out, which sounds really dumb to me. Like,
it's very recent for a remake. I'm kind of surprised on that one. But with the live-action remakes, I think it actually exposes a significant issue with nostalgia baiting, which is that so frequently these companies do not understand where that nostalgia comes from. Like with The Lion King, they're like, oh, we're going to make all the animals look completely realistic. We're going to have the songs. We're going to have, top-tier voices in it. And it's like, but where's the heart? How are we connecting to these characters? You're telling a story over again, but you're not remembering why that story was so powerful in the first place.
One of them I'm very scared to actually see is Stitch. That one I'm scared of. And one of them I'm hoping, if they can do it right, because there is something that might be kind of cool about seeing it in live action, especially since a lot of the voice actors, or at least one of them, does look like his character, and he can still play it in live action with his age, and that would be Emperor's New Groove, because that's something we haven't gotten much of anything with, so at least there's something that bringing back would make sense, versus Moana makes no sense. Stitch makes a little more sense, but
I think I saw the CGI model for Stitch, and I think we're going to have another Sonic situation on our hands, because I was so disappointed. I'm desperately hoping it was a fan creation, but I really don't know.
I heard that they had a test audience with the CGI, and it scared all the kids with Stitch.
I am not surprised.
And so they're trying to rework it, and that's the reason it got pushed back so much, and why Moana took its place, from what I've heard. Because last I heard, before I heard about the Moana one, Stitch was one of the next ones coming up after Little Mermaid, which is coming out this year. I will not be seeing it. I don't like the aesthetic. I don't like the aesthetic. It's too dark.
So, I love Halle Bailey. I think she's honestly a fantastic choice for this. She has an excellent voice. She's adorable as a mermaid. But everything else I've seen has just been a major disappointment. You can create realistic environments that have high impact colors in them, that are saturated with color. Don't put it, in the Pacific Ocean, because we got Pacific Ocean colors coming on. Do it tropical. Bring it to life.
And isn't supposed to be tropical anyway?
Kind of. The thing is, no one can really place it because they have fish from all over the world, which would make sense, if they move that into the story. You can absolutely do that because, you know, the daughters are, I think, supposed to represent the seven seas, so it would make sense.
That makes sense if it's Poseidon.
But
It was Poseidon,
like,
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Poseidon's
okay.
daughters. But then there's things like Sebastian. I mean, first of all, put that thing back where it came from, or so help me, but also they chose a shore crab. They made him into a shore crab, which means that he would drown underwater. Which is... I love biology, I love ecology, and I take so much issue with this. Probably more than I should.
Flounder. I wish that creepy CGI Flounder that was going on Twitter, that I had found through memes. I am no longer on Twitter for obvious reasons. I wish that was real, because at least then it'd be so scary that I'd want to at least look at it, versus just how boring Flounder looks as just a regular fish.
Yeah.
They've been going too realistic. There should be a balance to having realistic textures but a little more cartoonish features.
The whole beauty of animation is you can take any object, you can take any animal, and you can anthropomorphize it in a way where we as an audience can connect to this character as if they were a person. Oftentimes even more because of the exaggerated expressions.
Yeah, on that note, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and with the whole art, you can find it over at Master Blasters, which is located at 3907 Missouri Flat Road in Placerville. Yeah. So go take go check a look, and there's gonna be some art over here.